Hello, I'm Gus Downing, publisher and editor of the D&D Daily, and this is the LP News Network. Over the last 40 years, our industry has evolved dramatically, and over the next 10 to 20 years, it'll evolve to a place we're only getting glimpses of now. From the first generation security executive in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, to the second generation LP and AP executive of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. Now the third generation executives are on the field and waiting to replace us boomers. So what are some of the milestones, turning points, and lines in the sand that you millennials can learn from us boomers that changed our industry and that also represent milestones that you'll face? They say history repeats itself, but many might question that in the face of this digital revolution. But the fact is, it does repeat itself, because at the end of the day, no matter how fast you can go or how much information you can manage, it all boils down to the fact that we're still managing people, data, processes, theft, crisis, and keeping our stores safe. And no matter how much technology you have, you still have to learn to analyze, decide, plan, and react. And with us today to talk about it is Chad McIntosh, VP of Loss Prevention and Risk Management at Bloomingdales. Chad has spent the last 40 years developing teams, building programs, delivering shrink results, and solving critical issues. And he's watched the industry evolve, and now he's talking about his retirement. So we're going to ask him to look back and look forward. Chad, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Gus. Appreciate it. You're making me feel old. 40 years in the business. It doesn't seem that long, by the way.
No, it doesn't.
Amazing.
It doesn't me either.
Yeah.
But I noticed it looking at your LinkedIn.
Yeah. Thank you.
You know, if you look back over the last 40 years, Chad, what are some of the milestones, some of the things that literally changed you and changed the industry?
Yeah, there were a couple of defining moments, if you will, in my career that I recognized. Some I handled right, some I didn't handle right. But you look at the industry itself. I was on the front line when electronic article surveillance first came out, and we were putting those in department stores in D.C. I was on the front line when Ed Wolf really drove vendor source tagging and how that changed the business. So I've seen several things from an asset protection standpoint, but it pales in comparison to what's happened in a department store or a specialty store when you look at it. So it's been an amazing journey, something that I've had a charmed career, I would say. I've had some great mentors that have really given me a lift up and taken me to where I am today, quite frankly.
How far has the industry come, in your opinion?
I think it's light years from when I started. When you think about when I started, first of all, there were no 5 steps, something that everybody in the industry has today when making a shoplift apprehension. We didn't have camera systems. We didn't have EAS, so we really didn't have any technology. So you literally worked the floor to make an apprehension. So you had to do it all with your powers of observation. And you had to be confident in what you actually saw. So it's changed dramatically to technology driving most of what we do in asset protection at Bloomingdales today. So,
you know, of all the lessons you learned, what are the top 3?
So one, I had my first mentor, Lou Sheely, taught me about delegating. He gave me a task to do in one of our distribution centers at Woody's. We had just rolled out EAS into all the Woody stores, but we overbought the tags, and the Centromatic was going to take the tags back. So he said, get 500,000 tags together and ship it back to him. Well, I delegated the task to somebody, and we opened one of the boxes and counted the number of tags, and then we multiplied that to the number of boxes to get to 500,000. Well, they were different numbers and it didn't hit the 500,000. So, and then he sat me down and walked me through how to properly delegate a task. So, delegation is one thing I learned. Certainly, one of the big lessons is as you become a leader, you become the voice and the face of a department. You got to be comfortable in getting up in front of groups and speaking. You've got to put yourself out there. By the way, I'm an introvert, so getting up in front of a large group is a challenge for me. I know that it's important to my organization, so I flip the switch in my head and I'm on, and I go and I give them my message. So being visible and a good communicator is important. And then it boils down to people, as you said, Gus, and really taking care of your people, helping them achieve their goals and their dreams, and actually helping them be more than they thought they could be.
Of all the retail executives you've worked with, what did the worst one teach you?
Well, it's a recent one. So this executive really didn't want any kind of a relationship in the process. It was all business as you got into there. There was never any small talk, and she was critical about interesting things like you put a presentation together for you. She was critical about the font on the PowerPoint. So things that really weren't, in the grand scheme of things, really getting to the texture or really finding out, did you understand my message in the first place, and not just focus on the font of the PowerPoint. But we actually developed a relationship over time, because I would go in and I would start the meeting and I would tell her something personally about me, and I'd ask her a personal question. So I pushed through that process because I wanted a relationship and a partnership. I didn't just want to go in and make a presentation and have somebody give me feedback on it.
Yeah, excellent technique.
Yeah.
What was the biggest hurdle you ever faced?
Well, it actually had to do with my personal life and as my career was growing. When I went to Polo Ralph Lauren, I was living in New Jersey. My family was living in Atlanta, Georgia. My daughter just got accepted to the Performing Arts High School in Atlanta, and we didn't want to take her out of that environment. It was such a great environment, something that she really had a passion about. So I would see my family about every 3 weeks. I don't recommend anybody doing that. I did that for 3 years. So that was a challenge. It was hard. I had to find ways of talking about what I was doing during the day at night to my family, things like that I wasn't used to doing. So it really changed the way, my style with communicating with them too.
If you were to tell a millennial leader to watch out for one thing, what would it be?
Well, millennials they're interesting, and so I have a group of 11 people on my corporate staff, 8 of which are millennials, and they are amazing to watch in the way that they work, but they can be social at times, very social. And I have a saying, because when you give them a project, they're looking at their calendar. I'm looking at my watch. So you gotta think differently about the project, the process. What are the time frame that you want this done? Stay focused on it, because management wants things in a second, by the way, in the digital world. So they want to work through the process. They certainly learn by experience. They have nonlinear lives. So, and we talk about nonlinear careers in asset protection today, because the number of executive positions has shrunk over the years. So you have to think differently on how you're going to grow your career, because we think that with the millennial, we'll have them for 3 years and they're going to move on to something else, by the way.
Mm-hmm. And not stay in AP.
And not necessarily stay in AP. So I encourage them to go into other parts of the retail business, learn different aspects of it, then come back to me. You're going to be a better rounded executive for us.
If you were to label the 3 generations that I spoke about earlier, how would you label them? Not so far as, where they are now, but what they represent.
Well, I think the baby boomers, you and I, we represent experience, and because we've been through things that they won't see. They've been through things, the millennials have been through things that we haven't experienced or aren't comfortable with. They all grew up on devices. They have better technical skills than a lot of us boomers. So I think that they are pushing us to increase our knowledge about technology and things like that. That actually helps an organization, I believe. So And then there's a group in between the two, and they kind of go back and forth. Depending on their comfort zone, some may be stronger technically, some may have great backgrounds and great experiences throughout their career that we draw on. So I think you have to bring all those three together on a team to really get the diversity that you actually look for to be successful today, I think.
You know, how is the digital age changing the executive, the leader, the team?
Well, one of the things that has really changed me when I think about it, and we start this in 2010, really leveraging social media to help us identify when an issue or a problem was coming in our direction. Because anybody with a smartphone today is a reporter. They're taking pictures, they're sending tweets, they're sending information out there that may be helpful to you. So I think but also what's changed is the senior management knows how fast things move and how fast you can communicate. They want answers right away. And you have to be careful when a group tweets an event's going on someplace, that the first tweets are probably not accurate about what actually just happened. So getting to the truth so that you can report the real information to your management team is important. But everything is moving so quickly. From the beginning of my career to today, it's moving at light speed. Everything has changed. Everything will change much more.
You know, how far do you see digital taking our industry?
Well, I think it's a response to the customers actually in the way that they want to shop. So we're exploring self-checkout in a department store. I don't know that I ever would have thought that would happen in a department store, but that's the way a certain group likes to shop. So giving them what they want and how they want it is important to really making sure that your department store, your store, your company is alive and vibrant and not become a statistic.
Right. You know, lastly, is there a couple of executives that you'd like to mention or thank?
Yeah, as I said, I've had a charmed career. So my first mentor was Lou Sheely. Yeah, that's a name for everybody. Look him
for the
up,
boomers.
Google him. And then certainly Gary Manson at Neiman Marcus, and then Ed Wolf at Home Depot, and then lastly Jay Fogg at Bloomingdales. So, yeah.
Jay was tremendous, absolutely tremendous.
Yep.
Chad, is there any last parting comments or advice for the folks watching?
No, I think that it's a great industry, great career. You know, expand your horizons though. Don't just think that, well, start as a detective, become a supervisor, manager, so forth. You have to think differently in today's world, and you have to take a non-linear approach. As I mentioned earlier, the number of executive positions is shrinking, but they're still out there. There's still great opportunity there, but you have to look at how you're going to grow differently and really understanding all the nuances of the business and how it's changing. When I think about Bloomingdales, 5 years ago, Bloomingdales would not transfer any merchandise out of a store. We just didn't ship anything out of the stores. Today, today on average, our flagship store in Manhattan is shipping out 2,500, 3,000 packages. So we are moving merchandise around like at amazing speed today. So really understand what's going on in your business and distinguish yourself as you go through those processes, and really learn and make yourself indispensable.
Chad, thanks for being here. And thanks for being in the industry with me. Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for this episode. We'd like to thank you for watching. And until next time, let's keep them all safe out there.